Hundreds of people in Sydney waited for hours on Friday to get tested for COVID-19. Authorities are on high alert after a new cluster of infections was detected in New South Wales. 28 cases have been linked to Sydney's northern coastal suburbs, but health officials have been unable to determine the source of the infections, raising fears that the cluster could spread. State Premier Gladys Berejiklian has urged people to be diligent.
So everybody in Greater Sydney needs to be on high alert. If you have the mildest of symptoms, please get tested and isolate. But also, can everybody please think about their activity? Nobody should be getting on public transport without wearing a mask. Nobody in Greater Sydney should be going to a supermarket, a place of worship, or other high-risk areas without wearing a mask.
Australian states and territories started reimposing border restrictions on Friday, causing disruption to thousands of people's Christmas travel plans. It's also a blow for the economy and domestic tourism operators. Until this week, Australia had gone more than 2 weeks without any local transmission.
A second COVID-19 vaccine on Thursday was recommended by a panel of independent experts in the U.S.
It looks like we have a favorable vote.
After hours of discussion, the committee voted 20-0 with one abstention that the benefits of the vaccine outweigh its risks. The decision can't come soon enough as coronavirus deaths soared to a staggering daily record of 3,580 in the United States. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration will now decide within days whether to grant approval of Moderna's vaccine for emergency use. The same committee of advisors endorsed the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine a week ago, and the FDA granted its approval a day later. A second vaccine would add more fuel to a massive inoculation program that got underway almost immediately after the FDA made its decision. This comes as COVID-19 hospitalizations rose for the 19th straight day on Wednesday, and California became the first state to report more than 50,000 daily cases.
That should be sobering.
The governor on Tuesday activated a mass fatality program and purchased thousands more body bags as the state tightens restrictions meant to slow the spread. Earlier in the week, some 570 vaccine distribution centers across the country received the initial batch of Pfizer shipments, with scores of Americans now inoculated against the disease. According to Operation Warp Speed, hundreds more locations were due to receive the vials on Friday. The Moderna vaccine, if approved by the FDA, is set to begin distribution. Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar told CNBC on Thursday that 5.9 million doses have been allotted for state governors and were ready to ship nationwide.
President-elect Joe Biden will get the coronavirus vaccine as soon as next week, transition officials said on Wednesday. Biden is expected to receive the jab in public as authorities attempt to build up public confidence in the procedure. The first doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine became available in the United States this week and have been set aside for medical staff, nursing homes and government officials. Biden told reporters on Wednesday that he did not want to get ahead of the line, but at 78 he is in the high-risk category and he's also keen to show the vaccine is safe. A recent Reuters Ipsos poll showed that only 61% of respondents would be open to receiving a vaccine.
Tell me when you're ready.
All right.
Scientists have said that to reach herd immunity, more than 70% of the public must be exposed to the virus. Biden has vowed to make the fight against the pandemic his top priority when he takes office next month. Surging COVID-19 infections and hospitalizations are driving healthcare systems to breaking point across much of the country. Daily deaths topped 3,000 on Tuesday for the third time in a week. President Donald Trump has often downplayed the severity of the pandemic, but White House officials said he would receive the vaccine, though they weren't sure when, while Vice President Mike Pence is going to get the jab in a public setting on Friday.
French President Emmanuel Macron has tested positive for COVID-19.
Sur l'article 1er de la Constitution,
In a statement made on Thursday, the president's office said the diagnosis was, quote, made following a PCR test performed at the onset of the first symptoms. The 42-year-old will self-isolate for the next 7 days, but his LSA office added, he will continue to work and carry out duties remotely. A spokeswoman said that all his trips had been cancelled, including an upcoming visit to Lebanon. It's not yet clear where he could have contracted the virus.
L'Europe a en effet.
In addition, in the last 2 weeks, Macron has met with numerous world leaders, including the Prime Ministers of Portugal and Spain, Egypt's president, and attended a summit that included the heads of state of Germany, Italy, Belgium, and the EU chief, among others.
Dans la foulée,
Prime Minister John Castex will also self-isolate after coming into contact with Macron over the last few days. Some leaders have also started to self-isolate as a result.
More than 300 schoolboys kidnapped in Nigeria a week ago have been freed, the governor of the northwestern Katsina state said on Thursday. Aminu Bello Masari said a total of 344 boys held in a forest in neighbouring Zamfara state had been handed over to government security agents, but that the number did not account for all those who'd been abducted.
I think we have recovered most of the boys, it's not all of them.
The students were taken from the government science boarding school in Kankara in an abduction which was claimed by Islamist militant group Boko Haram in an unverified audio recording.
This news is reaching us about an hour ago.
Masari said those that had been freed were on their way back to Katsina State and would be medically examined and reunited with their families on Friday. The kidnapping has gripped a nation already angry at widespread insecurity and evokes memories of Boko Haram's 2014 kidnapping of more than 270 girls in the northeastern town of Chibok.
Makers of cars and electronic devices from TVs to smartphones are sounding alarm bells. As consumer demand bounces back from the pandemic, they say a global shortage of chips is causing manufacturing delays. Industry executives and analysts say there are a number of issues behind the shortage. Bulk buying by Chinese tech giant Huawei Technologies for one, after it was hit with US sanctions. Analysts say this was aggravated by rivals such as Xiaomi, seeking to gain market share by stepping up orders of components. A fire at a chip plant in Japan has also impacted supply, as did lockdowns in Southeast Asia and a strike at a chip maker in France. Others say there has also been underinvestment in some plants, mostly owned by Asian firms and making older types of chips. That's causing a struggle to ramp up production as demand for 5G phones, laptops and cars picks up faster than expected. The world's top contract chip maker, Taiwan's TSMC, would only say that its capacity was tight. But a source at a Japanese electronics component supplier said it was seeing shortages of Wi-Fi and Bluetooth semiconductors. The auto industry in China flagged the issue earlier this month. It's expecting production at some Chinese car makers could be affected in the first quarter of next year. Consumer demand in China, especially for cars, has snapped back unexpectedly quickly from the coronavirus crisis. But so too have orders for products such as laptops and mobile phones in regions still struggling with pandemic restrictions, particularly in Europe and the United States, where millions have switched to remote working.
Sony says it's pulling the much-hyped Cyberpunk 2077 from its online store. That after users complained that the game starring Keanu Reeves was rife with bugs.
Gotta get out of here, understand?
The Japanese firm says it will now offer full refunds to anyone who bought the game, which was priced at up to $60. Cyberpunk was created by Polish developer CD Projekt. It was much anticipated after smash hit games from the same company. They helped make CD Projekt one of Poland's most valuable listed firms, worth almost $9 billion. And when Cyberpunk went on sale last week, it immediately topped download charts. Analysts predicted it would smash sales records. But then the reviews started to come in. Players reported repeated freezing and unnatural behaviour by characters. Within days, the version for Sony's PlayStation had a score of just 2.8 out of 10 on review aggregator Metacritic. CD Projekt shares have tumbled as the problems emerged. On Friday morning they dropped almost a fifth before steadying. Now the company has promised to fix all the bugs and get the game back in the PlayStation Store as soon as possible. Boxed versions are still available in shops, but some analysts say the debacle seems certain to cut future sales.